Ministers are considering a plan to link Heathrow and Gatwick airports to create the world's first virtual hub. The scheme, known as Heathwick, would involve a multi-billion-pound high-speed rail link between the two sites. But the Heathrow operators BAA and some airlines say it would be too expensive and impractical. So could such an ambitious project ever get off the ground? The coalition has previously blocked all attempts for a new runway at Heathrow, but Britain's largest airport says it's running at 98% capacity, and expansion would add billions of pounds to the UK economy. The latest proposal to solve the problem hinges on creating a sort of super airport linking Heathrow and Gatwick with a high-speed train link, connecting the two in just 15 minutes. The £5 billion route would hug the M25 and almost certainly cut through the Transport Secretary Philip Hammond's own constituency, where he's already facing stiff opposition for forcing through the new high-speed 2 rail link connecting the capital to Birmingham. Supporters of the scheme say it's a cheaper alternative to building a whole new airport like the one proposed in the Thames estuary, but critics call it a waste of money that does nothing to solve the underlying problem. The Heathrow operator BAA says the only real answer remains a third runway. Well, with me now is Victoria Borwick, a Conservative member of the Greater London Assembly who supports the rail link plan, and Lord Soley, a former Labour MP who was the campaign director for the Future Heathrow lobbying group, which supports expansion for Heathrow Airport. It's never going to get off the ground, this, is it, Victoria Borwick? I mean, it's vastly expensive. It would be massively disruptive.
Well, it's so much cheaper than building a whole new airport. I mean, you look at the idea of perhaps spending over 50 billion on a new estuary airport and it taking at least 25 years. You know, we need something now. This is a possible solution to a problem that we need to help improve our capacity now.
Lord Soley?
It's not going to fly, and pardon the pun, but really it's another attempt to try and get around the very difficult problem that government and indeed the Mayor are in, that Heathrow is no longer up to the standard of the rest of the world, including continental Europe, and that's very, very serious.
But you want a third runway?
My view is still, at the end of the day, I think the government will do a U-turn on this, actually, and you'll have a third runway. The only other realistic alternative would be to find a site for a third airport, proper hub airport, and build it. But it's very hard to find a site somewhere in the south of Britain that would be acceptable and would work.
Is it conceivable that there could be a U-turn on this idea of a third runway?
That I don't know. What I'm saying is if we had a high-speed rail train between the two, then Heathrow would become effectively another terminal of Gatwick, and Gatwick will become another terminal
What would be the advantage?
Well,
of linking them up this way? I mean, why would you be able to get more traffic through the two airports if they were linked?
You would definitely be able to get more traffic through because you would be able to increase the capacity and look at how the airports are used. And also the advantage of is obviously train travel is so much quicker. I mean, if you look at the poor people who have to trek around the M25 now and the journey can take an hour, 2 hours, a high-speed rail link is really the answer.
See, a lot of people would say we shouldn't be looking at expanding our air traffic very much.
The problem is at the moment we've got aircraft circling London can't land, and so that's not good for the environment. What do we do about it? Do we cut even more flights into Britain? These hub airports are critical to the international economy. If you don't have one, the investment decisions go elsewhere. Ask yourself this question. Is someone coming in from, say, Japan or China or Brazil going to fly to Gatwick, get on a train and go to Heathrow in order to fly to a regional city in Britain when they could quite easily go straight to Amsterdam or Frankfurt or Paris or Madrid and fly in from there, straight away from the same airport? We have to face up to the fact that if you're going to have a hub airport, people have to be able to interchange on that, have their investment meetings there, and go on to
a long time, is it?
Well, it's not a long time, but remember, your luggage has to be transferred, you've got all the other problems that go with it, and just imagine if you're the travel agent sitting there in Tokyo and saying, well, I can get you to Heathrow, then you'll have to get a train to Gatwick. And so you're not going to do it, you'll just go to Amsterdam.
Isn't the bigger point here that there are a whole wave of people who say, you know what, you're trying to create something that makes it easy for European air travel on one terminal and long haul on the other. OK, long haul travel can't be done any other way. What we should be doing with European travel is getting people off planes and onto trains. So rather than a high-speed link
Yep.
between Gatwick and Heathrow, you should be looking
You're-
at better rail links between Britain and Europe.
In an answer to my question in the Commons the other month, they recognised and said that the Chinese government, Chinese airlines and others were saying, why can't we come to Heathrow? They won't come to Heathrow if they can't interchange on that airport to get to other European destinations. That's the critical bit, to understand that you interchange there.
Victoria Borwick, I mean, isn't the trouble that the airlines and the airports don't support you? And if you haven't got...
No, I'm certainly. I mean,
Then,
we have already had a very positive response from Gatwick. And looking at the long
Not from
term,
BAA.
if we can look at, there is a possibility of building a second runway at Gatwick, and so this would tie in extremely well. The commitment for that is not for at least another 5-6 years. So if we started putting the idea down now, in order that this can be properly evaluated, we'd have a high-speed rail link, and perhaps in the long term, another runway at Gatwick, and it's quite feasible. I mean, we have to look at what happens in Paris, where people transfer between one airport and another, and that takes at least 75 minutes. Or we can look at what happens in New York, where again people transfer between airports. So why are we being so slow at getting anything done over here? We need to be brave about these infrastructure projects, and we need to get something done in order to help the capacity problem now.
You need to be brave and either expand Heathrow or create a totally new hub airport, in which case you close down Heathrow. Be realistic about this. It's a brutally hard decision. It's not easy, but those are your choices.
We must leave it there. Victoria Borwick, Lord Soley, thank you both very much indeed.